Is what you teach historically accurate?
Is it historically accurate? It's hysterically accurate. Is that good enough?
No.
No. Well, then the answer is yes. And no. And maybe. And who gives a fuck? Here's what I mean. I'm going to go out and do some work on my deck. I'm going to use a hammer. And I'm going to use a saw. Because those are the tools I need to do that job. And those tools are used in a very specific way to do the thing that they're made to do. When I hold a hammer like this and hit it, it's not because I'm doing a historical reenactment of hammering. It's because I'm using a hammer to fix my deck. If I use a saw like this, I'm not reenacting sawing. I'm not doing 18th century carpentry reenactment. Right? I'm cutting a board on my deck. You follow? So people who are obsessed with historical accuracy, if in fact there was such a thing, they're people who conceive of the sword as a dead language, as a lifeless thing, something that used to be as dust, man. I conceive of the sword as a living language. It is a tool that is as useful today as it was 100 years ago, like a hammer, like a saw. It still does what it does if you know how to make it do the thing it do. So, historical accuracy, man, that's just like a mad dog chasing his tail. Here's something a very wise man once said, and I'll share it with you. He said, people go to books, these old books, because they want to learn fencing in a historically accurate way. He says, but if you're going to be historically accurate, you have to remember that historically, people did not learn fencing from books. They learned it from fencing masters. So as soon as you start learning from a book, you're not doing it historically accurate any damn way. So there's that. When I was at the academy, learning from Maître Gillet, man, I spent lots of time poring over old manuals in French and Italian, a couple in Spanish. I had to get these shitty Xerox copies from Patrick Pugliese and and try and make them on. And I didn't speak Italian, so I'm really, that took a lot of effort. The French ones were pretty easy, right? Because I parlais un petit peu de français, but the rest, man, it was like pulling teeth. So why did I do that? I did it because I was curious to know where the things came from that we're doing now. We do a certain technique or a certain tactic or something. How did we get here? How did that develop? Where did that start out? I just wanted to know where this came from. And one of the things I discovered from poring over these old fencing books was that there was nothing that anybody did with a sword way back then that we weren't still doing now. You know, prises the fair, beats on the blade, attacks au fer, boy, that's Italian rapier, to right down the line, right? Deceptions, yielding parries, disengages, that's the French school right there, babe. Fighting with the point and line, standing very upright. Deceiving parries, yielding and counter, that's the Spanish school, man. All those influences combined into a patois that became the modern sword. And by modern, I mean after 1700. Right? Everything is still there. So people will say, oh, yeah, I want how they fenced in the 16th century in Italy. Well, look at what we're doing today, because it's all there. It's all there. So then people came and they made a fetish out of this stuff. And now, of course, they have to dress in costume now when they do it. And they're really about fantasy role-playing. They're not about becoming a fighter or a swordsman or understanding that as a martial art. They're just jerking around. Let me tell you, I'll give you an example of the kind of crap that happens. You don't hear so much of this anymore. At least I haven't heard it in a while. But for a while, there was a big brouhaha. It was a big controversy about whether you should parry with the edge of the blade or the flat of the blade. Well, to anybody who knows anything about the sword, this is no controversy at all. It's an idiot question. It's the question a 5-year-old would ask you. You know? Oh yeah, all these big arguments about it, and debates and discussions by people who didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. See what happens? When you don't know shit, and you go to old books and start pulling quotes out and making up theories to fill in the blanks, you know? That's why you go to a fencing master.